Hello and welcome to the Last Mile Podcast, where we talk about the technologies being used by the government to enable communications and connectivity off the grid. I'm your host for today's podcast and a frequent contributor to the Last Mile online publication, Ryan Schradin. Thank you for joining me today. The people who do dangerous physical work require tools that can keep up with them and survive the difficult, harsh conditions that they put their bodies and gear through. This could be a challenge when it comes to smart devices because they're fundamentally tiny, delicate computers that have to live through the drops, crushes, and conditions that their larger cousins, the desktop computers, would only ever really experience in their worst nightmares. This is especially true for emergency response and disaster recovery situations, where the work can be grueling and dangerous and the conditions inhospitable, to say the least. Today's public safety professionals and first responders are increasingly depending on smart devices to meet their communications requirements. And it makes sense. Why would you settle for a radio with only voice communications when you can have a smart device with voice, text, and video communications, as well as a virtual reference library and toolbox filled with incredible capabilities and features thanks to the enormous ecosystem of mobile applications that are available today? But if smart devices are going to make their way into disaster areas as part of disaster response and recovery operations, they're going to have to toughen up. And that's where today's guest comes in. Today we're joined by Erin, Luzzi, the Director of Accessories at Sonim Technologies. Sonim is an incredibly interesting company that manufactures ultra-rugged mobile devices that are capable of standing up to the harshest conditions and roughest treatment. This makes them ideal for deployment to public safety personnel, first responders, and humanitarian workers. It also makes them ideal for people like utility crews that have to work and operate in tough circumstances and conditions. Erin is joining to talk about Sonim solutions, some of the use cases for their ruggedized products, and some of the ways that public safety personnel can ensure connectivity for their ruggedized devices even when terrestrial networks are compromised. Erin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Ryan, thank you for the opportunity to connect with your listeners.
It is my pleasure. I'm excited to have you on the show. So the average smartphone owner and user probably has no real need for a ruggedized device. And as a result, they probably know very little about Sonim. Can you tell our readers a bit about the company and your role there? What's the company sell? How long has it been around? And what are your responsibilities with you?
Well, Ryan, Sonim has been around for 20 years. It's a leading provider of ultra-rugged mobility solutions designed specifically for task workers physically engaged in their work environments, often in mission-critical roles. We specialize in workforce-critical communication and connectivity tools for industrial enterprises and public sector agencies, including customers in construction, energy and utility, hospitality, logistics, manufacturing, public safety, and transportation. Our Sonim solutions fall into three main categories: ultra-rugged mobile devices, cloud-based software and application services, and industrial-grade accessories.
That's a great introduction to the company. Can you maybe also share with our listeners a little bit of information about some of the specific mobile devices that you guys offer, as well as some of your other products and solutions?
Sonim manufactures ultra-rugged handsets available across the globe via mobile operators, distributors, and resellers. We currently offer three phones. The Sonim XP8 is an Android-based smartphone. The XP5S is a bar-style feature phone. And the XP3 is a flip feature phone. Our devices have large and tactile buttons and controls for use with gloves, large push-to-talk buttons enabling reliable PTT communications, programmable buttons to support efficient operations, and emergency buttons for worker safety. As it relates to industrial accessories, I've been with Sonim for 6 years. I'm responsible for our accessories portfolio, which is essentially anything that connects to a Sonim handset. We partner with leading brands to ensure a broad and robust portfolio of critical accessories, from wired headsets and remote speaker microphones to in-vehicle cradles and mounts for hands-free compliance, to multi-bay chargers for powering devices in multi-shift operations, to accessories that meet the non-incentive Class 1 Division 2 rating of our handset.
So that was a great overview into Sonim solutions. There are a couple of things that you said that were really interesting. That SOS application sounds really very useful, and making things like buttons big enough to use in gloves. That's something that is very useful. I think a lot of people wouldn't think about. But one thing I've heard you say over and over again, and something I've seen on the website and some of the company's marketing materials, it's this phrase, ultra ruggedized. What makes your product design different from other solutions available today? What makes something ultra ruggedized versus just ruggedized? And what kind of tests are conducted to ensure that your devices are ready for mission critical workflows?
Ultra rugged is more than just putting bumpers on a mobile device. Sonim devices are designed and built to meet 12 benchmarks of endurance and durability. Then we test them over and over and over again to ensure they exceed those demands. Sonim has the most stringent, rugged performance standards in the market beyond your traditional MIL 810G and IP standards. I'll touch on just a few. Sonim phones are IP68 for water and dustproof, which means the phones are resistant to submersion in water up to 1.5 meters and dust protected, especially from hazardous particles. Sonim recently shared a testimonial via social media that demonstrates how well our phones are designed. The South Walton Beach Safety Division let us know that a snorkeler found a XP8 phone that was lost about a year ago during a jet ski patrol mission. The beach safety director advised that they let the phone dry out and it still works. I mean, that's just a great example of our quality. All of our phones are drop and impact resistant. They're designed to absorb energy. The MIL standard 810G drop test suggests a 4-foot drop to plywood over concrete, but Sonim tests to 6 feet to concrete, which is 2 times the impact force. Our devices provide extra loud and clear audio to ensure workers can hear and be heard on the job site. Our devices have front-facing speakers with over 100 dB output and noise-canceling technology to remove background noise. And a critical standard for Sonim devices is multi-shift battery life. Batteries are consumables with a lifespan of approximately 12 to 18 months, and most consumer smartphones have built-in batteries. So when the battery decays, you have to replace the whole phone. Rugged devices like Sonim are designed for 3 to 5 years, so replaceable batteries are really important. Other Sonim rugged performance standards are related to operating in extreme temperatures, glove-friendly, glove-touch usability, high temperature and high pressure water resistance, pressure, puncture, shock, and chemical resistance. In terms of testing, no one really audits or checks MIL standard 810G or IP testing compliance. Most of the time, vendors just self-test or advise their products are designed to pass the test. Or Sonim tests rugged performance standards internally and with third-party labs. And we actually publish videos of our testing. So on Sonim's YouTube page, you'll find videos of Sonim tests, including a ball drop test to make sure the phone can withstand unexpected impacts. You'll find videos on drop testing from multiple angles, a fire hose water pressure test, phones submerged in fuel, bleach, soap, and abrasive cleaners. Our phones can be aggressively cleaned, scrubbed, disinfected, and sanitized, which is critical during the age of COVID and why our phones are a favorite among first responders. And I'll end with this. Nothing is more powerful than Sonim's 3-year comprehensive warranty. Sonim stands behind its quality and its design by ensuring the product for 3 years.
I have to say, 1 year in the ocean and still working is a great testimonial right there. I don't know if you could test it more rigorously than that. That's pretty amazing, and that tells me clearly that Sonim is making a really impressive product. But a good device manufacturer, aside from making a device that can tolerate that kind of abuse, is a manufacturer that's going to take end user feedback and requirements. They're going to listen to those things and then internalize them, take them, analyze that feedback, and then use that to drive their product roadmap and to inspire innovation within their products. Can you share some ways in which user feedback was developed into an exciting new offering for Sonim customers?
Yes, Ryan, a few examples come to mind. I'll revert back to one that you even referenced earlier on, which is Sonim SOS. So as it relates to Sonim Wear software solutions, Sonim handsets include a red programmable button. It's traditionally used as an emergency button for lone worker man-down solutions. Over the years, clients have requested a simple, easy to program and initiate emergency alert. Based on this client feedback, Sonim created SOS. So with the press of the red button on the phone, Sonim SOS sends instant messages and location data to emergency contacts, making it faster and easier to request help. And these SOS settings may be customized and controlled via Sonim Cloud, which is a web-based platform. Another example is related to the audio connector on the Sonim XP5S and XP8 handsets. So often our phones are used to augment or replace land mobile radios. Clients accustomed to land mobile radios advised that they needed the ability to screw in audio accessories, such as remote speaker microphones, into the phone for retention, and for the need for the phone to then power the audio accessory. These are traditional features with high power land mobile radios. Consumer devices with 3.5 connectors don't have retention or the ability to pass through power to audio accessories. So for the Sonim XP5S and XP8 handsets, we developed the secure audio connector, which is a 10-pin connector that allows clients to screw audio accessories into the phone to ensure a secure and reliable connection. And the phone also powers the audio accessories, eliminating the need to power anything other than the phone. The other thing is related to the secure audio connector is Sonim worked with partners to develop remote speaker microphones with channel selectors, like those channel selectors that are built into land mobile radios. So with a Sonim compatible remote speaker microphone, first responders and industrial workers may easily change channels or talk groups via the selector or knob on the remote speaker microphone.
Now, you mentioned the high-powered radios, and obviously, as a California resident yourself, you're as aware of this as anyone. We're experiencing a lot of very record-breaking natural disasters, whether it be so many hurricanes that we've run out of named storm names already, and the hurricane season isn't even over yet. And obviously, in California, there where you are, up into Oregon and Washington State, we're having some absolutely incredible wildfires. With all of these record-breaking disasters, plus we have the COVID-19 pandemic going on, why would first responders, the people responding to those disasters and everything that's happening in the country, why would they want to use a Sonim device versus one of those land radios that you talked about?
With Sonim phones, it's just about the ability to do so much more. So mobile devices today, smartphones, even feature phones, provide way more capabilities than land mobile radios. You have the ability to do a lot of things with smartphone applications, push to talk. There's a variety of different emergency, situational awareness, emergency applications that are available that can be enabled via smartphones and mobile devices today. So there's just more capabilities inherent in mobile devices than in land mobile radios.
Now, obviously, the land mobile radios, they communicate over radio, cell phones, smart devices over cellular networks. And we know that sometimes either of those, the radio networks, the cell networks, any terrestrial network couldn't be compromised in one of these natural disasters. How can someone who is a Sonim user use that device when those networks are denied or compromised?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a variety of ways to enable off-grid communications via mobile phones. So you can do it with Wi-Fi direct technologies using licensed and unlicensed radio bands, as well as satellite. One of my favorite products is the goTenna Pro. It pairs to the Sonim XP8 phone. It enables one-to-one and one-to-many messaging, personnel tracking, and collaborative mapping. goTenna products also include mesh, providing up to 6 hops, which extends range many miles. So there's a variety of these quick to deploy, human portable, off-grid mobile technologies such as goTenna that can be enabled via mobile devices such as the Sonim XP8. They're small, they're lightweight, they're ruggedized. They support device consolidation, which is absolutely critical with all the equipment and weight that first responders have on their bodies. These solutions are deployable in minutes, not hours or days. They're often deployed with or without any cellular network connectivity. You're enabling the technology via the mobile device. And frankly, they're far more affordable than traditional off-cellular network products. And you don't have the infrastructure, administrative, or financial burdens of other technologies.
I think when people think about first responders, they think about, firemen and police, and they think about EMS, and they think about National Guardsmen, and they might not think about kind of the more overlooked first responder on the front lines of these disaster response efforts, which are the utility workers who are out there scrambling, trying to get power and communications back to people in a timely manner and restore some of that damaged infrastructure. What are some of the unique challenges that Sonim's utility customers are facing in those environments? And are there any best practices that can be shared between them and some of the public safety, military, and other humanitarian response organizations that respond to these disasters?
Energy and utility workers are subjected to harsh conditions and depend on mobile devices and off-cellular network or grid technologies for life-saving communications, just like your traditional first responder. The use cases are similar, and the solutions are often the same. They follow the disaster as well. In the short term, the challenges are around the technologies that are available and budgets. And even in the longer term, the challenges are what technologies will be available when and budgets. I think preparedness is really key. I can share a few examples. We work with a water company that provides services supporting the wildfires in California. They need a direct connect, goTenna-like solution for areas without any coverage, plus a means to backhaul whether it be via satellite or mobile operator network. We also work with a utility client in Canada exploring solutions for when power is cut off and networking is lost in urban areas or large shopping centers. So battery-powered deployable kits that can be powered by generators, vehicle, or solar, such as those from Sonim or even goTenna, provide necessary power and mission-critical communications. Another example is a utility client that has many work sites with spotty coverage. They are considering different forms of redundancy for lone worker and off-grid situations. Plus, with utilities, there's also a consideration that the products need to be non-incentive Class 1 Division 2 rated. In terms of best practice, I think the best practice is preparedness. Be proactive, put the problems on paper, look at different ways to solve the problems, put redundancy and safeguards in place, train and prepare folks for what technology is available and how to use it. One simple example is some products need to be charged from time to time. So develop a cadence for charging products to ensure they're powered and ready for use when needed.
That's some great advice. I never would have thought of that cadence idea for the charging. That's great. I want to talk a little bit about 2020 in general. Obviously, this has been a very unique year. I think some people would say a little challenging, but candidly, for better or worse, 2020 is going to have a real lasting effect on organizations. It's going to reshape the way the way people operate. It's going to reshape what many industries consider "quote unquote" normal. What do you think the next generation of communications technologies will look like in the industrial, enterprise, and public sector markets after 2020?
I think as it relates to land mobile radios, they still remain the dominant form of off-cellular network communication. I believe that the market desires faster change and more innovation in this area. I hope we see some improvements in land mobile radio form factors and costs, especially enabling more via smartphone. This would also align with what we're seeing in the market as it relates to device consolidation. I think there's another opportunity related to the rugged device market. The research shows that device failure is a major issue, impacting enterprise operations and increasing overall total cost of ownership. Failure rates of non-rugged mobile devices are about 3 times higher than the failure rates of rugged devices, like those from Sonim. So the ROI on a rugged device is driving continued growth and adoption. So it looks like, the rugged device market there's a strong growth segment over the coming years.
Excellent. You've been listening to Last Mile Podcast, where we have been speaking with Erin Luzzi, the Director of Accessories at Sonim Technologies, a manufacturer of communications devices that are, quite frankly, tougher than any of us. I know I wouldn't have survived a year in the ocean. I definitely would not have booted up after that, even if you did let me dry out first. Erin, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and our listeners today.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm a fan of The Last Mile, so thanks again for allowing me to join you.
Hey, it was my pleasure. I also want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. If you liked what you heard here today, I'd encourage you to check out The Last Mile online publication at connectthelastmile.com, where you'll find even more content just like this.